Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Treasure Temple. Treasure Temple is a game for 2 to 4 players in which each person is an explorer that has discovered this temple that is filled with treasures, both cursed and great and traps and what have you. And everybody's racing to get in there, grab treasures, and get them out and be the first person to score 20 points and be the best treasure collector. It is not easy though, because like I said, there are certain things like traps and cursed treasures and things like that that can affect you. And also the other players are not going to just sit back and let you raid the temple and take all the good stuff for yourself. They are going to actively try to prevent you from grabbing the good stuff and get the good stuff themselves. It is a game of surprising depth, and I know that sounds kind of like faint praise, but let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll dive into that statement a little deeper with my final thoughts. Alright, so this is Treasure Temple. I've gone ahead and set it up with 4 players. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each person has a side. Here in the center is the treasure deck where the treasures will come from. People are going to be turning cards over, and then they're going to be trying to move those cards onto these different 4 paths. Each player has a path that is theirs, and it is right in front of them. Theoretically, you'll play this on a table and each person will have a side. There are also adventure cards. Each person starts with 2 of them to begin the game. Adventure cards are cards that can be used to either aid yourself in trying to get more treasures or trying to hinder your opponents as well. The whole goal of this game, as I said, is to get to 20 points. The first person who gets 20 points will be the winner. You do have a situation where, like, if this is the first player here and if they score 20 points, every other person does get 1 more turn, and then you see you don't automatically end it. Everybody gets a chance to catch up. Each player will have a player card that will give a little bit of a background to the player, give a little bit of immersion there, and also give you a one-time ability that once you use it in the game, you flip your card over and there's that red X there to show that you have used the ability and you cannot use it again. These one-time abilities are just things that will just break the rules in some way that normally you cannot do. Adventure cards come in several different types. Cards that say ambush on them, like this, they can be used at any time and they don't cost an action to be used. Some cards that are just normal without any scripter on there cost an action to use and must be used on your turn. Let me just see if I can find one here quickly. Oh, these are the treasure cards. Let me actually grab the right deck and see if I can just find a card that is going to say path on it. Path. So there's a card that says path on it. Path cards are actually placed onto the sections of the board. These path cards are on there, and they will take a certain effect, usually if a treasure is moved onto that spot. You can have multiple path cards on a location, but only the topmost path card will take effect when they are on those spots. Alright, so how does the game work? So on your turn, the first thing you do is you draw an adventure card off the top of the deck and you take it, and then you have to make 2 actions. There are 3 possible actions you can do. You can play one of the treasure cards out of your hand, once again, non-ambush cards can be played at any time and don't cost an action to be used. You can flip a card, the card over at the top of the treasure deck. That is an action to do so, and you cannot flip a card over if there is a card still on top of the deck as well. Treasures like this one is actually kind of a special treasure, where treasures will have an amount that they're worth. Like this one is worth 0 here, but it says when scored, double the treasure points in your trove. So this is like a powerful treasure. If you could get it, if you had a lot of points already in your trove on your spot. But when you turn a card over, as I said, you cannot turn another card over until the treasure is moved off of the deck. So what you can do is you can take that as an action, you can move it 1 space. You can move it to any of the locations that are the paths, and if you have a treasure on the path in front of you, you can move it to score in the trove. You cannot take, like if you had this card was here, you cannot move that into another person's trove. Only the person that has their treasure trove can actually move the card in there. So this is one of those things where you might want to move it over there. Why would you do that? Well, it's clockwise. Green's going to go. And here's the deal. This card right now, it's not very powerful right now for the players to use because of the fact that they don't have any points in their treasure trove. They can't double up those points if they score it. So, and with this treasure card right there, it blocks other treasure cards from coming into that spot. Now, the path cards that I showed you, you can have path cards, and then I'm gonna see maybe one of these other players. Yeah, here. So this player has like a path card right there. Like you can move a treasure onto a path card. Sometimes moving it onto a path card can't be done. Like this one, it actually says the fire ants cards cannot be moved or placed onto this card. A player must spend one action to discard the card at first. So I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that. But if this is the path card that I could move a treasure onto, you can move treasures onto path cards. You just can't actually move treasures onto treasure cards. This is considered a space. So let's just say I had this treasure card here, and this treasure card was here. And this player would really like to get this treasure card over to this location. But this treasure card is blocking because this is a space that you have to move through. Now, this might seem relatively simple. Like you might be saying, how tough is it to just move a card to here and then get it moved into your trove? It is way more difficult than you think because there is an economy of actions that are going on. Plus, you have to remember that the other players are going to be paying attention to what's going on, and they're going to be placing cards, you know, like these fire ants in front of players to prevent them from being able to do just that. Now, there are path cards that are beneficial. There's a path card that is like a secret tunnel that if you place it into that spot, you can move cards that are on other locations and actually move them to your secret tunnel if you like. There are ones that give you extra actions, things like that. So there are both bad path cards and good path cards. You do have the ability with certain actions, like this dynamite card, that you can blow up like a path card that is on here. Like this, you wouldn't have to do that for this one, but because of the fact that because I can just take an action to get rid of the fire ants. But there are path cards that are actually really beneficial for players, like the Guardian Tiger, that doesn't allow people to actually mess with people's troves. Like if you have that in front of you, you're protected against negative, like people stealing treasure out of your trove. But you know, if you play that dynamite card, you could blow that up and take it away from those players. So the way this game shakes down is that each player on their turn is going to be trying to get treasures and cash them in. So if you have a treasure like this ruby of Kokundu, and you move it into your trove on your turn, unless there's like a special reason or like a score that doesn't happen, what you'll do is you'll see how many points it's worth, and then in this case it's worth 5 points. So you can either take 5 of these little tokens to represent those points like so and put those in your trove, or the game does come with these larger 5-point ones that you could use instead of that, and this, you know, represent that. Now, as I said, there are certain cards and actions, like there's like thieving monkeys and things like that that other players can have that will be able to steal actual coins out of your trove as you play. So you have, just because you get points into there doesn't mean that the game is over. You know, it's one of those games, like I said, when I saw the game and when I read the rules, I was like, this seems pretty easy. I mean, like, there doesn't seem to be a lot to this. But when I started playing it multiple times with my family, we really started seeing like all the different card combinations and setups and processes that you had to go through to really actually get like an efficient way of getting treasures from the middle of the board and getting them delivered. Like, here's even a treasure like this is a rolling boulder, where if it gets placed, like, you can actually use this, and like you can go into a spot and it just destroys everything that is in that spot. So there isn't just treasures in this treasure deck. There are curses, treasures, rolling boulders, things like that. The game, the best thing about it is that, yes, it is a little take-that-y, but one of the best things about it is that, yes, it's really clever, and also it doesn't overstay its welcome. But I'll touch on that and a few other things in my final thoughts, which I'll do right now. All right, so I'll talk about some of the things I already said, but I mentioned at the very beginning, it is a game of surprising depth, and I kind of touched on this when I described the game and how it is played. When I heard about the game and I read the rules, I was like, okay, I mean, this looks like something that I'd really enjoy with my family, so I want to try it out. And then when I got the game and I put it out, I was like, what? I mean, the artwork was cool. I dug the theme, the Indiana Jones explorer theme kind of thing. There was an old computer game too. I forget what it was called, but it was obviously a ripoff of Indiana Jones, where you had a machete and a whip and a gun and things like that. It was an old Commodore game, so somebody will mention the name of it theoretically when you watch this video. But the whole point is that this is a game that. When I saw it, I put it on the table. I mean, and I think most people are going to think this when they see it. They're going to say, so you just have to move the card 2 spaces? That's all you have to do? How tough is that? I mean, and even I was like, maybe I should write the designer and say, maybe you should have like 2 locations on each, because this seems like it wouldn't be that tough. Just a, hey, I'm moving the treasure, I win, yay. And then I played it, and I was like, oh, I get it. It's because it's an action to turn a card over. It's an action to move the treasure 1 space. And there is going to be situations where other people are going to have certain cards or certain abilities that you know they have. That you know they have on their paths. And you're not going to want to reveal a card, for example. Or if you reveal a card and you can't move it into your spot because somebody's placed fire ants or some sort of trap, or there's certain cards like if you go there, it just completely ends your turn no matter what, like as soon as you go to that spot. So like you can't go there, and then you know the other player, like say, has that secret tunnel, and they're just going to be able to on their turn move the treasure over to their spot. So like you're in this situation where it's like, I don't want to reveal a treasure. I want to make somebody else spend the action to reveal a treasure. So there's a treasure out there on my turn that I can kind of try and grab. And that's just one of many different things that are going to organically get created each time you play the game. I have found the game to be exquisitely interesting and very strategic when it comes to 2-player games. My daughter and I have played it several times, and it's something where it's like, I mean, there's definitely like, you know, moments of like, oh, I'm going to move here. And like, wait, let me play this ambush card. I don't think you're moving it there. You're actually going to put it over there. Or actually, you're going to discard that. You're not going to do that. And, you know, like good chuckly, smiley moments of those situations. But the other thing is that we have played 4 players, and it gets a little more chaotic, obviously, with the more people playing, but it also becomes very dependent upon what the person before you does and how they're going to affect the board, and how you're going to react to that, and how you're going to spin off of the actions they do. And so it becomes very like backward thinky, if that's even a word or a description, if it is, like seeing what they're going to do and seeing how like each of those paths, the different traps, the different actions that are available to you, the different cards you have available to you, and the economy of actions. And I've said this a few times, the economy of actions, having only 2 actions on your turn, it's like you really have to figure out what you need to do to, if you can't score points, what you need to do to make sure nobody else can score points, to the best of your ability before it gets back to you. And it does become, as people, because the points are on the board, like you can actually see people getting closer and closer, and so it does become in some situations like a race against time, and you're trying to just kind of put yourself within the herd, if you will, as far as the points go, and then so hopefully you can spring ahead when you need to claim the victory. Regardless, as I said, it's a game that doesn't stay around to overstay its welcome. Games that rely on visible like a point platform that you have to reach to win, and a visible points, those can become a tackle the leader type of game. And this one doesn't suffer from that as much as many other games of this nature, because of the fact that you are dependent upon having certain cards at certain times to be able to do that, and you can't ever just count on that. You don't just have I'm gonna tackle the leader and I know I'm gonna be able to no matter what as soon as somebody gets close to the point total. No, you have to have certain cards and certain abilities, and and if you spend a lot of time just focusing on either stockpiling those adventure cards that maybe would mess with other people. If you're just doing that, first of all, you can't take actions to draw more adventure cards. You just get to draw one a turn, period. But the other thing is that even if you're doing that, you are not then scoring points yourself. So you're not really doing anything to actually propel yourself forward to actually claim a victory. So, you wouldn't play like that anyway. So, anyway, it is, as I said, a game of surprising depth. I was very pleasantly surprised with how smooth and crisp and fun this game was, and also the different challenges, the different player numbers actually represented, and I could find myself saying, oh man, I really love those 4 and 3 player games, but I also really like the 2-player game, just going head to head with somebody as well. So there you go. If you have any questions about Treasure Temple, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. If you're looking for a good family weight game, that you can teach in 5 minutes, which I thought was awesome as well, then yeah, check it out. I think you will be very happy to have this one on your shelf and be able to play it with your close friends and family. All right. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any, like I said, questions about anything at all, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. Until next time, just be the best version of you can possibly be. All right. Bye-bye.